Publisher, African Lifestyle Magazine, Chicago.
Hello, everybody. Once again, this is Fred Wankwo coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bold Talk on Allen TV. And as usual, I'd like to say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening to you, depending on where you are around the world. Folks, Nigeria is not working. And it's time for us to ask ourselves a question I've asked in so many previous episodes. Who shook the Nigerian jar? Who shook the damned jar?
If you collect 100 black ants and 100 fire ants and put them in a jar, nothing will happen. But if you take the jar, shake it violently, and leave it on a table, the ants will start killing each other. Red believes the black is the enemy, while black believes the red is the enemy, when the real enemy is the person who shook the jar. The same is true in society. Men versus women, black versus white, faith versus science, young versus old, etc. Before we fight each other, we must ask ourselves, who shook the jar?
It is time to break this damned country up into two. The middle belt and the south going their separate way, and the north going their separate way. And in this formula, I must say that I feel bad for the Hausas. But by making this call, it's also time for the Hausas maybe to tell the Fulani that we want to be on our own. It's time for you to go your separate way. Nigeria is not working. And the first step to breaking Nigeria into different parts is to first of all break away from the Fulani North. We can work with the Hausa North if they have the guts to do so, but we have to break away from the Fulani North. And I'll tell you how we need to do that, because there is nothing that southern Nigeria has in common with the barbaric Fulani led by a Fulani cabal. And until we break this damn country up, nothing is going to work. And they're going to keep knocking our heads together. Igbos versus Yorubas, Edos versus Urobos, Bayelsa versus Rivers, all across the country, even Benue versus Plateau. That's their divide and conquer formula, and we have to put an end to it.
We have tried to live a Nigeria designed by Great Britain and handed to us. We have found it difficult to live in that Nigeria. We have fought a civil war, killed so many people, and still we have the same problems reoccurring. Perhaps the time has come to revisit the very foundations of Nigeria.
If you go to Europe, there are countries in Europe that are not the size of some of the smaller states in Nigeria, but they are called countries, independent countries, and well respected by the world. Why is the damned world, America and France and Britain, trying to keep Nigeria together if Nigeria is not working? Until we break away from this damned Fulani hold in the north. Let them go and have their jihad Sharia country in the north. Let's take our middle belt and our southern Nigeria into a Nigeria that we can make work for us, or amicably divide up into the states. Then the little states who can survive on their own can decide which are the state nations they want to affiliate with. And if we do that, then we could cooperate among ourselves, trade among ourselves, even have joint forces to defend ourselves, but we'll know we're doing it in the interest of us, not in the interest of a cabal that doesn't have our interest, but are only interested in taking the resources within our regions to develop their region and buy guns to destroy us. Enough is enough. Now, with that off my chest, I want to address again the Bola Ahmed Tinubu visit to Owerri last Sunday. Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Hope Uzodinma rigged elections to become who they are and to get where they are. In the United States where I live, presidents are criticized on a daily basis. Donald Trump is a billionaire, and on a daily basis, even people like me who were not born here can make any kind of story about Donald Trump and nothing happens to me as long as I have facts. So what's so wrong with doing a story about Bola Ahmed Tinubu and saying that he rigged an election? Bola Ahmed Tinubu built Lagos State. What did he build in Lagos? A bunch of white elephants. Ikoyi is beautiful. Lekki is beautiful. Victoria Island is beautiful. Banana Island is beautiful. Are they really beautiful? Have you traveled outside Nigeria to visit places in Europe, in UK, in the United States, in Dubai, where houses cost what they cost in Victoria Island and Ikoyi and Banana Island and Lekki, and see how those places are kept, how the water runs when you turn it on, how the electric comes on when you turn it on, how the roads are smooth and you could go where you want to go without being hurt, how the security works and you could travel 24 hours a day. What is so beautiful about Lagos? Let me play you the nonsense he promised in Owerri, and then I'll tell you to compare those promises to the ones he made to Lagosians 24 years ago, and how Lagosians are living in fear of Bola Ahmed Tinubu. It's your innocent grandchildren that will suffer the consequences of your celebration of crooks last Saturday or Sunday in Owerri. Listen to Bola Ahmed Tinubu, then I'll tear apart those promises he made. Let's begin with this picture of Bola Ahmed Tinubu and President Obasanjo. Bola Ahmed Tinubu's noisemakers are going to tell you that, oh wow, Obasanjo was there to support him. I have a different theory on that. I think that Hope Uzodinma, the slick Hope Uzodinma, in his Tinubu way and Wike way, cornered Obasanjo and invited him to that inauguration, and there was no publicity that Tinubu was coming to that inauguration, because there is a video that I could show you where the MC or an announcer was surprised to see that Tinubu was in the crowd.
President Abela. Tinubu. Tinubu is here. Jagaban. Hamadona president right here. Jagaban.
So they brought Obasanjo so that Hope Uzodinma could claim that he has the support of Obasanjo and he has the support of Tinubu. These are the games they play. Obasanjo was uncomfortable enough that you could see that when Tinubu started to speak, Obasanjo stood up and left that venue in the middle of Tinubu's speech. Here is the garbage that he probably was saying when Obasanjo said, "I've had enough of this garbage."
The last 40 years, some very few people were cornering our commonwealth, calling it subsidy. I call it wasteful and thievery.
Do you wonder why Tinubu is so concerned that the fuel subsidy business has been cornered by a few Nigerians over the last 40 years? Could it be because he's not getting a piece of the pie? Plateau State was burning for 3 days, starting on Christmas Eve. People were massacred, genocide type. Bola Ahmed Tinubu has not gone to Plateau State to commiserate with the families who lost dear ones at those killings, because Bola Ahmed Tinubu is in bed with the Fulani cabal that is cleaning up with their jihad starting in Plateau and Benue. But it's okay. They don't have to say anything. But they should remember 1966 and 1967. Igbos were being massacred in the north. Millions of Igbos were massacred in the Civil War. In Asaba, Muritala Muhammad came in and wiped out every male in sight and buried them in a mass grave. The rest of Nigeria fought on the side of the Fulani cabal while Igbos were being massacred. Now it's the turn of Plateau and Benue, and we all sympathize with them. Although I bring it up, I sympathize with them. At the time they sided with the cabal to massacre Igbos, let's assume they didn't have all the information. But now the rest of Nigeria have all the information. And still, people seem to be staying mum. The Yoruba bigots that are supporting Tinubu today, if I were in your shoes, I'll join Yoruba progressives and fight Tinubu's position with his Fulani cabal that he's working for. Because tomorrow, what's going on in Plateau State and Benue State and Southern Kaduna, go put it down in writing, it's going to come to Yoruba land. Igbos are already ready because they've been hunting us for over 50 years, but we refuse to succumb. If you don't join and fight today, tomorrow we're all going to live to regret it. Unfortunately, many of us are going to be gone. It's going to be future generations, our children and our grandchildren, that will bear the consequences of us sitting back and doing nothing, while a cabal is running rampant through our country and using surrogates in our different regions. In Yoruba land, they are using Tinubu. In Igbo land, they are using Uzodinma and a few others. I also want to address the Igbo elite. I saw a video, a very short video, that talks about the 10 richest Igbos in Nigeria. I want to address that topic, and I want you to listen to me carefully as I address it. Because while we talk about all the things that the Fulani cabal does to Igbos, let's address what Igbos do or not do for themselves.
ATA is $5.8 billion. Cletus Ibeto, $3.8 billion. Orji Uzor Kalu, $3.2 billion. Alan Ifechukwu Onyema, $3 billion. Emeka Offor, $2.9 billion. Bennedict Peters, $2.7 billion. Andu Uba, $2.1 billion. Rochas Okorocha, $1.5 billion. Ifeanyi Ubah, $1.7 billion. Innocent Chakuma, $1 billion.
Now let's talk about that wealth. Besides Innoson Motors, Ibeto, Airpeace, which is Alan Onyema, and Bennedict Peters, who owns Aieto Energy. How many of those Igbo people with so much wealth have any significant sustainable employment to show in Igbo land? How much manpower do they employ to alleviate poverty in that region? Folks, this is food for thought. This is not a criticism of these wealthy Igbos. This is a call to action. This is food for thought. As we start focusing on Ruo Ulo, it's time for them to start searching their conscience. But it's also time for us to start bringing these facts to their attention. We can't force them to invest in an Igbo, but we can find ways to prod them, to prick their conscience. Maybe they are just not thinking about it. Maybe if we talk to them, they will think about it. But we can't continue to wait for the federal government to develop an Igbo. It's time to do it for ourselves. And it starts with the wealthiest amongst us. Ladies and gentlemen, once again, this is Fred Nwankwo coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bold Talk on Allen TV. And until next time, good night and God bless.
Chukwu negaje esi nwanne m ekene ịlapụlụ ife niile na-eme wee bịa ka gosili na anyị na gị bụ nwanne wisdom ga-adị ka nye gị maịkị ka ogobanya bụ egwu isili maxi ọ bụ na-etiri egwu a malụkwa malụ n'imego m ife ọjọọ wee sị gị nwanne m ife ọbụ na ịchọlụ na ngeme wisdom onume ekene gị mangi iyo iyo biko lapo nabase zoro 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 Joy na bugwa osa Sokoto Ujembe nwilo Anu solo nwe manofia nara Onye nwuro zuru ike